For lesson 3 of our chapter 4 mini unit, we will be using the slope formula. So rather than just counting up or down and then left and right on the graph, we're going to actually use the points on the graph and their coordinates to find out what the slope was based on their coordinates. So that way, if we're just given 2 points, we don't have to take the time to graph it and then count up and over to find out what the slope was. We should be able to just work with those points without having to graph it. So for this first example right here, we have 0.11 and we have 0.23. So 1, and 2, 3 are our 2 points. Then what I'd like you to do in your homework here is label which one of these is your second point. As you can see, the slope formula is M, which stands for slope. Slope equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. All this is rate of change. You're taking your xy from 0.2 and you're subtracting your xy from 0.1 to find out how much that changed. And we should be able to get either a negative or a positive value depending on whether it's going up or down. I always like to use my point furthest to the right as my 0.2. So it's easy to pick which point that is on the graph. Obviously, B is further to the right. Remember, when I'm talking about right, I'm talking about your x value. So I always look at the x value and figure out which x value is greater. Well, 2 is greater than 1, so 2 would be my 0.2. And so this would be my 0.1. In your homework, I would like you to identify which point is your 0.2 and which one is your 0.1, so that way I can look at your formula and make sure that you put your numbers in there correctly. Okay, now remember, your y values go on top, so even though we're looking at our x values to determine which point is 0.2, you're going to start with your y values. So 3 is y2. This is 0.2, this is y, so this is y2. Okay, so 3 minus 1 over, all right, and then we're going to go back to x2. So this is x of 0.2, so we're going to go 2 minus, now this is 0.1, this is x, so 1. And so m equals this, and we're going to get 2 over 1, which equals 2. Now we can check that on the graph. Obviously, okay, so we went 2 units up and 1 unit to the right, so that's a plus 2 and plus 1, which would be 2 over 1 or 2. So we can use that to kind of check. As we move forward, though, we won't have graphs there, so this will be what we're doing to use to find the slope. All right, so for this one, we have points 0, 1, sorry, negative 1. And then this one is a 2 and negative 5. Okay, so which point is further to the right? Well, this is 0, this is 2. So this one is going to be my 0.2. This is going to be my 0.1. All right, so now when we start the formula, m equals now y2. y2 is negative 5. Minus y1, okay, is negative 1. So we are subtracting, then make sure you put that number in there. So right now you see we have an uh-oh, but let's just fill out the rest of our problem. So x2 is 2 and x1 is 0. So now we can change this to addition. And so we have negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2, and that's our answer. And that does make sense because this is a negative slope, it's going down. This is a positive slope, it is increasing. So we should have expected a positive here and a negative here. It's going down by 2 over 1, down by 2 over 1. So there you can see the steps. Minus 2 plus 1 would be negative 2 over 1, which is negative 2. So this is another way for us to find the slope of a line, and a little bit more efficient way, rather than giving 2 points, having to graph it on a line, and then go ahead and count it and figure out the slope. So we should be able to go a little bit quicker now. All right, so for example 3, this is kind of what your homework's going to look like. So this is going to be my 0.2 because x is 19, so this is 0.1. So now we go m equals y2 is negative 16, and y1 is also negative 16. And so x2 is 19, and x1 is negative 7. So now we're going to change both of these. And we notice we get negative 16 plus 16, well, that's going to be 0. So now down here we're going to get 26. But remember, it doesn't matter what we get in the denominator. If the numerator is 0, the slope is 0. So remembering what we know about that line, as you can see, y equals negative 16 all the time. So that means our line is looking something like this, where negative 16 is up here, and the line is going straight across with 0 slope at y equals negative 16. So that's what that line looks like, a slope with 0. All right, now this is 15 and this is 15, so they're both the same. So it doesn't matter which point you use. I'm going to go ahead and say this is 0.2, this is 0.1. All right, so m equals y2 is 8, 8 minus y1 is negative 13. And then down here, x2 is 15 minus x1 is 15. Uh-oh, I see a problem with this. 15 minus 15 is 0, and I never want to have 0 in the denominator. So even if I work this out, I'm going to get 21 over 0, which I don't want to have. So undefined slope is my answer. Okay, so this one's okay. We have 0. This one is not because we have 0 in the denominator, so we say undefined slope. All right, so one more practice here, 2 and 5. I'm looking at the x values, so this is going to be my 0.2. This can be my 0.1. So m equals y2. y2 is 3 minus y1 is 1. And x2 is 5 minus x1 is 2. Okay, again, remember, I'm just looking at these values, and this is 0.2. So when I say y2 is 2, okay, and remember the formula, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The 1s and the 2s just refer to which point you're talking about. So I'm going to get 2 over 3, and that's my slope. I can't simplify that anymore, and I'm done. So that's pretty much what we're doing today for lesson 3 of our mini unit, chapter 4, just finding out how to find the slope. Remember, this is the rate of change between these 2 points. So it does tie in with chapter 4. That's just how we find slope. Be sure to check the answer key on the worksheet to help you out with homework.